Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you an easy way of coloring with alcohol markers, and I am using this stamp by Unity Stamp Company. It's called Being Yourself, and I stamped this out on Georgia Pacific cardstock. Cardstock makes all the difference when you're coloring with alcohol markers. I'm going to say it again. Cardstock makes all the difference when you're coloring with alcohol markers. This is where people go wrong. The cardstock that you can use or should use with alcohol markers that makes a difference is Georgia Pacific, is the Nina Classic Crest Solar White or whatever it's called. I don't buy it, so I don't know the name. And Fun Stamper's Journey Whipped Cream cardstock, and I will insert pictures here. And so you can see what I'm talking about. And the Georgia Pacific, I buy that because it's cheap and you can find it at Walmart. And I also use Fun Stamper's Journey because I am a Fun Stamper's Journey coach. But for today, I'm using Georgia Pacific. And you also have to use alcohol-friendly ink. And the alcohol-friendly ink that I use is Memento Tuxedo Black ink and Fun Stamper's Journey True Color Fusion Black Licorice ink. And that's what I use today. And some people are getting frustrated, and the reason they're getting frustrated is because they think alcohol markers are going to be like watercolors, and they're not. They're totally different. So don't overthink the process of coloring, and that's where some people go wrong too. I've been in a lot of forums and people are saying, oh, you have to be an artist to know how to color with alcohol markers. No, you don't. And the reason you don't is because I can't even draw a stick figure. And I can still color. And the way I'm going to show you how to color is basically coloring like a 5-year-old. That's all you need to know how to do, is to color like a 5-year-old, and everybody can do that. And I'm going to use Spectrum Noir markers, but I am using Copics. And the reason I am using Copics is because when a favorite Spectrum Noir color runs out, I buy the Copic that matches the same color. And the reason I do this is because the Spectrum Noir refills, because they are refillable. But the refills are getting more expensive and they're getting hard to find. But with Copics, you can find the refills anywhere that sell Copics, online especially. And if you use a coupon for Copics, like at Hobby Lobby or at Michael's, the Copics are cheap. So that's why I went to the Copics on some of my favorite colors. So I'm going to show you with skin color, and this is Caucasian skin. I am going to use my lightest Copic, and that's E00. And I'm going to lay that color down first. And I tried to pick an image that didn't have a ton of skin on it because I want you to see the Spectrum Noir coloring too. Now that, I think, sometimes you got to decipher if that's skin or if that's part of the bang. And I'm going to say that's part of the bang. So... And now Spectrum Noir markers have a bullet nib, and Copics have a brush nib. There are now some Spectrum Noir markers, the Illustrator markers, that have the brush tips, but the brush tips are not, I'm going to repeat that again, are not the same as the Copic brush tips. They behave nothing like the Copic brush nibs. But I do not mind the Spectrum Noir brush nibs, just the nibs. And I'm going to give her pink cheeks with R20. and very light. And when I'm doing this, I'm applying very light pressure. I'm not, that's where people go wrong too, is they push so darn hard. And this is E53. And some people are getting frustrated because they want these to behave just like water markers, water-based markers, and they don't. These are basically, how can I explain it? A diluted Sharpie. There we go. A diluted Sharpie. And then I just go around the edge. This is where my 5-year-old coloring comes into play. I'm just taking a darker, and that was the E53, and I am outlining where her skin is. This is also called non-directional shading. I didn't know it had a name. I just recently figured out that that's what I was doing. You do not have to be an artist in order to color with alcohol markers. Anybody can get these results. And the reason I color this way is because it's quick, because I don't like to fiddle with things, and I'm not doing a ton of layering. And a lot of people like to layer to get like a skin effect or a hair looking effect, but I don't do that, and mine turn out just fine. And now for the last skin color, this is E51. And this is where the blending's going to come in, because you don't want these harsh lines, right? And you don't want these blobby pink cheeks. So you just go over it. And I go over the cheeks first, and then I go into the other, the outlines I have done. Can you hear my kids fighting? Now, do you see how I have to go over it a couple of times in order to make it blend so it doesn't, and how it's blending is it's diluting the darker color and it's making it spread out. And sometimes I gotta go over it a couple of times, and again, light pressure. Don't push hard. That's where, you know, there's problems. And then also I see her chest right there is, she's got like a scoop neck t-shirt on. I didn't notice that. And I'm not going to worry if I get it on the leaves a little bit, because I am going to be coloring in the leaves with a different color. I think this is her neck right here. Yeah. Sometimes it's kind of hard to decipher. So what I do is, if I can't figure out, I will pull out my handy dandy magnifying glass, and I will look through my magnifying glass to see. I'm going to hold this up to my face to see if I can figure. Okay, that's her neck. This is her neck area right here. Again, light pressure. Let's see how nice that's turning out already. And that's just a minimal effort. Now for her shirt, I am going to use Spectrum Noirs. And with Spectrum Noirs, I go from lightest to darkest. Whereas Copics, I went from dark to light. So for her shirt, I'm going to use this AP1. And I am going to color this in. And again, you're not pushing hard. You're not doing big long strokes. I'm actually like, when I get right here, I'm actually dotting it and pulling it away. So you don't get any runoff. Or bleeding, I should say, not runoff. Bleeding. Okay. And the same. Some people hate bullet nibs. I do not mind bullet nibs. I'm okay with them. It does not matter to me. The brush tips on the Copics are nice, but there's no way I can afford every single color of Copic that I can of Spectrum Noir. So, and then this way, like, this is one of my favorite colors, and when this one runs dry, I will probably find a Copic that matches this color, and that way it's not so hard on my pocketbook either, because I don't have to buy, you know, if I would buy, I have, what, 100 and some Spectrum Noirs, there's no way I could have bought, and I bought those all at once. There's no way I could have bought 100 Copics at once. And the Spectrum Noirs I buy are from Consumer Crafts, and they regularly have those on sale for $5 for a 6-pack or $20 for the 24-pack. And they always have sales like that, always. And now for these, for her shirt, I'm going in with the, excuse me, with the AP3. That's just a darker color of the pink. And again, I am just going to outline her shirt. This is my 5-year-old coloring. I'm sure that's going to offend some people. But that's the easiest way I can explain it. You don't have to be a fancy-dancy artist to color well. And don't overthink it. You just do it. And for these tiny spots, I'm just touching the tip. I'm not dragging it, I'm just touching. And again, I'll say it again and again, it's your cardstock that makes the difference. You can't use Recollections cardstock. It will not work. And I don't know why people don't believe me. And then they message me, I'm not getting the same results as you. And I'm like, what cardstock are you using? What I had, Recollections. Well, that's not going to work. What did I just say? I told you to go get Georgia Pacific. But there's her shirt. And if I didn't want these lines so harsh, I will again go over it with my lightest, but just remember when you layer these colors, that's going to make her shirt even darker. And this time I'm going in a circular motion to kind of bleed out those lines. This one I'm rubbing. And again, these markers are not watercolor markers. They're alcohol markers. It's two different effects. And there's her shirt, nice pink. Now for her hair, I am actually going to use EB2, and that's a Spectrum Noir, and that's the lightest color. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to color her hair all over. I'm not going to worry about highlights. I'm not going to worry about layering colors. I'm picking what I want her to be, like a brown or dirty blonde color. So that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm coloring. And she's got this fantastic ponytail here, or braid, I should say braid. And again, light pressure. I'm not pushing hard. And let's see, is that a leaf or is that part of her braid? I'm going to hold this up to my face so I can look through it with my magnifying glass. And that is part of her braid. And with this, you got to decide if those are wispies or if that is hair. And I'm saying it is a chunk of hair. Now that right there, is that part of her braid or is that part of the flower? That is part of the flower. And then I'm going to go in with a darker color, and this is a Copic. It is Y23 because I had a similar Spectrum Noir and it ran out. And again, I'm just outlining with my 5-year-old way of coloring. I'm going to hit all those strands that I see. And I'm going to, for the braid, I'm just following where they crisscross and around the edge. And I think that's gonna do it. Oh, I missed a big chunk of hair right there. Big chunk. See, when I got in that tight spot, I just tapped it on there. I didn't brush it. I didn't, color it. I tapped it. I dotted it. And there, that's her hair. How easy was that? I'm not going to worry about highlights. I'm not going to worry about where the sun's hitting it, where you see shadows and where you don't see shadows. And then for these roses, I want to make them red. So I am going, I like the CR11 for red. And this is where it gets hairy scary because some markers, some of the colors bleed worse than others. So with the red, I have to be careful because this bleeds an awful lot. So I'm using my magnifying glass and I'm just touching it away from the edge. And it will bleed to the edge. I'm just touching, touching, touching. I'm not rubbing. I wish you could see under the, or in the magnifying glass, but I'm barely touching. It's like It's like a magic trick. It doesn't even look like I'm touching it, but I am. And, you know, I just barely touch, and I touch away from the edge because I know the red's going to bleed into the edge if I touch it away from the edge. But see how nice that's turning out already? And this is minimal effort, and I'm actually going quite quick. I would have probably colored a little bit slower, but this video is going to be long. And I know some people don't like to watch long videos. And see, this part right here is a super teeny tiny spot, and I know if I go too close to the edge, it's going to bleed into her face. So I'm just going to touch it, the tip, and look at that, it filled right in. Now I think this is part of the flower here. Yep. And I can see in between these flowers, like right there and right there, that's supposed to be skin. So I'm gonna come in, I'm actually going to use the darkest. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to fill in these little skin areas I missed. Okay, and then for the green, I think I'm going to go with, I got a color chart here. For the green, I'm going to go LG3. Oh, I just got, here we go. And again, I'm just barely touching the tip. It's almost like a dotting. And if the spot's too skinny, I'm not even going to color it. And I'll show you what I do. See, right here, it's super crazy skinny. So let me show you what I do. I will get a colored pencil with, and this is just a cheapy colored pencil. And I will use my magnifying glass, and this has a nice sharp point on it. So I will color the super crazy skinny parts that I know I don't want to get my marker on because it might bleed through. Or might bleed, not through, but bleed too much. And then with the flowers again, I want to outline those, so I'm using a darker color and a Copic, but you can use a Spectrum Noir, and I use my magnifying glass, and I'm just going to go around the edges. Again, this is my 5-year-old way of coloring, and again, I'm barely touching. My cat wants him. There. And I see right here in her face, I need to get a little spot that's white. I missed a spot. And I missed a spot with her hair. So I will go in, I will touch it. And I want to do the same for the leaves. I want to make a little, I want to define them a little bit. So I'm going to go in with, LG3, I want to go in with LG5. That's a darker green. And that's a Spectrum Noir. And I'm just going to use my magnifying glass again, and I'm just touching the edges. And that just defines the leaves a little bit. I'm just touching, because these are skinny, and I don't want to go around the edge completely of these. And that's it, folks. Done. And she has a ring on, and for her ring I will use a gel pen. Here, I'll show you that. I want to use a gold gel pen and my magnifying glass. And I am going to color her ring. Done. But there, see, that's easy coloring now. Nobody told me they can't do this. Anybody can do this. I'm not an artist. I just like to color, and I love coloring with alcohol markers, and this is an easy way of doing it. And look how nice that turned out. And I colored this quick. I didn't even take my time, really. So it's nice, it's pretty. And, you know, you don't have to be an artist. Don't overthink it. Just color. Just get in there and do it. But don't expect alcohol markers to behave like watercolors. They're not. They're alcohol markers. They're totally different. And again, it's your cardstock that makes all the difference. Georgia Pacific cardstock, and the Nina Classic Crest Solar White and Fun Stamper's Journey whipped cream cardstock are what you should be using for alcohol markers. But for starters, just do the Georgia Pacific. Just listen to what I say and you won't go wrong. So thanks for watching. Bye.